Second part is the institution. We recognize that in the last several years, a lot of our programs have been shut down. A lot of our education programs and vocational programs have been reduced. And we are using part of the funding, that $52.8 million, to restore many of those programs that have gone away. Another thing that happened in the institutions is that about 3 years ago, we had a community resource manager in every institution. And what that manager did was to build bridges between the community and the institution, to resolve issues, to figure out ways that the institutions could add value to the communities, and also to be the gateway for the community to come in and help those inmates that wanted to participate in AA and NA. All of those positions went away in the institutions. And when we held our community collaborative last year, and we asked the community stakeholders, what is it that we could do to at least gain some of the ground that we had gained before? And they said, bring back the community resource managers. So part of this $52.8 million is bringing back in 3 sites, we're calling them now community partnership managers. And they will be that bridge between the institution and the community. We're going to ask them to do something a little different than they did in the past. Not only work with the community in terms of getting volunteers to come inside the institution, but also to work with those community-based organizations that are really helping to prepare for those individuals who are returning into the community. And so that is going to be a big piece of what we do as part of that package. We also are looking at the concept of structured reentry. And so we have some funding dedicated for structured reentry. And one example I'd like to give you in terms of what we've planned addresses an issue that someone talked about earlier today. The fact that many times people don't apply for their benefits until after they've been released. And what we've done in this year's budget is we've put in $2.8 million to launch an effort so that there are social workers inside the institution pre-release that are actually there to assist in applying for benefits so that that can be secured before the individuals are released to the community. And lastly, community reintegration, is how very timely it was to have this Maryland tape talk about the importance of community reintegration. There is only so much that the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation can do on its own. This is really a shared responsibility. And as someone said earlier today, one of our biggest challenges is to make sure we're not a barrier here at CDCR to that happening. And that is part of the charge of my office, is to make sure that we're not a barrier. The secretary that appointed me to this position used to tell me all the time, he says, you know, we're hard to help. And that's what I heard from the community, is that we are so big, we are so complex. We've got 33 institutions. There are over 60,000 employees. There are so many doors to knock on to be told that you've knocked on the wrong door. Part of my job in the Division of Community Partnerships is to make sure that there is no wrong door, that you knock on the door of the Division of Community Partnerships, and that is the gateway to getting to whoever you need to get to within the department if your purpose is to assist in the reintegration of offenders back into the community. So the structural changes and organizational changes and our current year recidivism reduction strategy is a big step towards making a change in the way that we do the delivery of reentry services.
Great, Del, thank you. And can you also talk a little bit about SB 618? Jackie Spear, I think in 2004, sponsored that bill. San Francisco has applied for a grant with that, and Del's office is overseeing that. So if you could just give the group an overview, we'd appreciate it.
SB 618, a very exciting piece of legislation. It would allow for 3 counties in the state of California to actually take over the responsibility for doing the reception center activities that are performed now by CDCR. And what that means is that normally we do a number of screenings and assessments once an inmate arrives to our reception centers. And those assessments can take anywhere from 90 to 120 days, largely because of our numbers and our overcrowding. Individuals end up sitting, waiting for long periods of time to be moved into the general population. And what that means is while they're sitting in a reception center, they are not getting access to programming. And so it is a lost opportunity to meet their needs. Additionally, if they are returned from parole, we also have an issue with they are returned for a short period of incarceration. They sit in reception for 2 months. Then they get moved to an institution. They only have 2 months left. They don't have time to really program. And so what they've really experienced is a great disruption in whatever they had started when they were on parole. So we've got a situation where we have an opportunity with 618 to change the way we handle our assessments